teams, ladies and gentlemen, the Sheffield Eagles.
Beautiful sunny afternoon. Welcome to Arlington Stadium for the first game of professional rugby league ever to be held in Sheffield. It's the first game of the Sheffield Eagles Rugby League Club, playing at home today in the second division of the Rugby Football League against Rochdale Hornets. As the Eagles line up, stand in the centre of the field, acknowledging the crowd. Steve Cooper, signed from York.
Number 1, the fullback, Andy.
And that's Andrew Tyers playing at fullback for the Eagles. A local lad signed from Rotherham, playing his first pro game today. And now it's Ray Smith, a Doncaster boy. All these lads, of course, are new signings today for the Sheffield Eagles, most of them from other professional clubs, but some of them have only played amateur football.
Number 3.
And playing at number 3 is Darryl Powell, a young man signed from the Red Hill Junior Rugby League Club from the Castleford area. And now his partner at centre, Mark Campbell, signed from Leeds.
He's a signing, £2,000 from Leeds.
And now we come to David Allred, today playing on the left wing. David Allred.
Number 6, Steve Robinson.
And this is Steve Robinson playing at standoff half today.
Number 7, A.N. Ever.
And I can tell you that this lad's name is Paul Welsh, a new signing, just completed. Sheffield have just completed his signing. And this is Billy Harris, 32 years old, signed from Wakefield Trinity, a very solid prop forward, well known in rugby league circles. And now the club captain and manager, Gary Hetherington.
He's wearing a headband to protect his ears.
And now playing at number 10, a very, very famous player in the world of rugby league, Vince Farah. A bit of a veteran now, but has played in several Rugby League Cup finals and has played for Great Britain. And now we come to the second row forward, Ian Jowett. And Paul McDermott playing at loose forward, a great try scorer, a man to watch his backing up during the game. And now we come to the two substitutes, the back substitute Mark Campbell, the second Mark Campbell. It can be quite confusing, two Mark Campbells playing for the Sheffield club this year. And the forward substitute, John Gregory. Another man from the hotbed of rugby league, the Featherstone and Castleford area. A lot of the Sheffield club have come from that part of the world. Rochdale Hornets, one of the historic clubs. They were there in 1895. Never won a great deal, Rochdale, but they've been the sort of club that's been there through thick and thin. Well, the club commentator saying it's the beginning of a new era, and it's certainly that. And it's the kick-off by David Allred for the Sheffield Eagles, kicks it deep into the Rochdale Hornets half, and it's the Rochdale right winger Phil Cartwright bringing the ball out, going. It's a good run by Cartwright. It's a good run by Cartwright, beating men down the left, runs right up to the halfway line. That's a brilliant start for Rochdale. Cartwright playing the ball now. Rochdale passing it out, giving it to one of the big forwards. That's number 11, Chris Whitehead. Hornets playing the ball again. They're playing on the halfway line now, but now Well, that was a bad pass by David Chisnell, very nearly taken by Ray Smith, the Sheffield Eagles winger, the right winger. And the referee today, Fred Lindop, penalising Rochdale for tackling Smith off the ball. It's the first penalty to Sheffield. And it's David Allred coming forward. He looks as though he may take a kick at goal, and he is.
David Allred is having a good goal.
It's worth explaining at this stage that for penalties, a kick at goal can be taken at any time other than at a scrum. At a scrum down, where the referee awards a penalty, it's known as a differential penalty, and the side awarded the penalty can't take a kick at goal in those circumstances. But certainly on this occasion, Ray Smith was blatantly fouled off the ball. It wasn't a serious foul, but it was clearly a foul. David Allred now, the former Minnesota Viking kicker and the former American footballer, takes the kick. Is it there? No, it's not quite there. And it's the Rochdale fullback taking the ball, running out of defence, running up to the 25. This is a good run by Rochdale. That's Mark Massa, former Leeds player. He's getting up now to play the ball. Rochdale passing it out again. Not gaining any ground on that occasion. That was Jim Molyneux, former Blackpool player, being tackled with a ball, and now Rochdale have the ball again. They can have the ball, of course, for 6 tackles, and if they're tackled on 6 successive occasions and the tackles are completed, they've got to hand the ball over to Sheffield. And of course Rochdale are aware of that, and the scrum half, Brian Hughes, kicking the ball deep into the Sheffield territory, right to the 25-yard line. It's Andrew Tyers, the Sheffield fullback, cleverly beats a man, gets up to 10 yards from the halfway line, and that's the first tackle for Sheffield. Sheffield now taking the ball. It's Gary Hetherington, the club manager, taking it nearly up to the halfway line. Good play by Hetherington. Sheffield now throwing the ball out right. It's Vince Farrer with young Steve Robinson supporting Farrer. Gets over the halfway line, making ground gradually. The main thing is not to make any unnecessary errors at this stage. That's Billy Harris taking the ball, being tackled by 2 of his opposing forwards. Steve Cooper. Cooper gives it to Hetherington, and switch by Hetherington to Ian Jowett. Jowett making ground, not quite making the 25, but good play by Sheffield. And this is a kick by David Allred, standing back to put a bomb onto the Rochdale line, but well taken by the Rochdale full-back. Sheffield couldn't put quite enough pressure on Rochdale, as no doubt they might learn to do. Allred's going to come back and kick all day today, try and put the Rochdale full-back under pressure, but of course that does mean that the Sheffield players have to get up quickly and pressurise Rochdale. And at the moment we have an injury to a Rochdale player. It looks to me like David Chisnell, the prop forward, just looks to have injured his leg. I'm not quite sure how that occurred. But it looks to be okay. Dave Chisnell, a very experienced player, played with Warrington and St Helens, and also played with Barrow. A lot of these players have moved around a lot. Part-time professionals, of course, not full-timers like soccer players, but now Rochdale play the ball, and it's with the prop forward Jim Molyneux again, trying to barge his way through. There's likely to be a lot of tight play early on in this game. And that's Darryl Powell, prominent tackling for Sheffield. Oh, and Hornets lose the ball. It goes into touch, and that's a scrum down. It's a scrum down with Sheffield to put the ball into the scrum, and Sheffield will also have the loose head. Just to explain what that means, what it means is that the Sheffield hooker is of the 2 hookers, the Sheffield hooker has his head nearest the ball, and Sheffield get the ball from the scrum. It's with Steve Robinson. Can't make any ground on the Rochdale 25, and it's Paul Welsh giving it now to Billy Harris. Harris just making a little ground there, taking a couple of Rochdale players to stop him though. And now it's Vince Farrer, the old international, and well, things not quite working out there for Sheffield, but Paul McDermott now has the ball. He plays it. It's Billy Harris again, and now it's Paul Welsh. Now it's Harris. Harris taking men on, making ground. 2 Rochdale players needed to tackle Billy Harris. Just 15 yards from the Rochdale line. This is a great chance for Sheffield. They've got about 4 tackles left to get over the line. Vince Farrer takes the Rochdale defence on, gets to within 10 yards. And this is Steve Cooper, tries a drop goal but misses it. Well, Sheffield trying to put points on the board. They've tried to put 3 points on the board so far, but haven't made it. It's going to be a historic moment, of course, when the first points do go on the board here at Allerton Stadium. Everybody in Sheffield, of course, hoping it will be the Eagles who make it. And now it's Rochdale taking a drop from the taking a place kick rather from the 25, and that's a penalty to Rochdale, given away by the club captain Steve Cooper in the tackle. I think the referee signalling there that Cooper used his elbows. And Rochdale, a penalty kicked by Billy Platt, put into touch just on the halfway line. Now Sheffield have to retire 10 yards. Rochdale will take a tap penalty from the halfway line, 10 yards in from touch. And it's the hooker, Kevin Lowe, who's taken the tap penalty, gives it out now to scrum half. It comes out to David Chisnell, juggles the ball a little bit, but Rochdale still have it. It's with Chisnell again, and that's Andy Barker, former Featherstone player. Dave Chisnell takes it again. Chisnell been prominent so far, gives a nice little slip pass to the man in support, Chris Whitehead. The Eagles' defence, though, equal to the occasion. 35 yards from the Eagles' line. In fact, the Eagles have taken the ball. And this is Mark Campbell, a young centre signed from Leeds, a promising young player. A lot of the Eagles players are promising players. It's a question of knitting together as a team as the Eagles get over the halfway line. Ian Jowett with the ball, playing the ball at the moment. Paul Welsh gives it to Vince Farrer. Well, Farrer again to Welsh. Good experience play by Farrer, showing just a little bit of knowledge of the game, played at a high level. Farrer, of course, a great player in his day. The ball coming out, Steve Robinson. It's now with Darryl Powell, and it's Ray Smith, but well, tough look for the Eagles. Tough look for the Eagles because the final pass to Ray Smith from Darryl Powell just went a little bit forward. Couldn't have been by much, but referee Mr. Fred Lindop spotted it. So it's a scrum down with Rochdale Hornets to put the ball into the scrum, and Rochdale Hornets, of course, will have the loose head, but Mr. Lindop gives a penalty, and I'm not quite sure what that was for. It seemed to be a loose arm that he was signalling, where presumably the Sheffield hooker dropped his arm off his prop forward's shoulders, but it was a penalty to Rochdale anyway. They've gained a lot of ground. They're 10 yards inside the Sheffield Eagles half, and it's hooker again, Kevin Lowe, playing the ball out to Rod Haslam for Hornets. Haslam playing in the second row forwards for the Hornets, and Hornets continuing to attack, just trying to test the Sheffield defence in the centre of the field at the moment. And this is a worked Hornets move involving Chisnell again, the experienced man at the centre of the stage. The ball finally comes to Billy Platt, but again the Eagles defence with Cooper and Harris prominent are equal to the task. Hornets not gaining much ground at the moment. Eagles defence holding out pretty well, as of course it has to, for 6 tackles. And this is the Hornets standoff half. Alan Fairhurst just looking for a gap, not making much ground, but getting to within 25 yards of the Sheffield line. And Hornets again breaking through now. This is a good move by the Hornets. It was young Barker who broke through, Andy Barker, but Hornets ultimately lost the ball. And Sheffield have it, and it was with David Allred. Now it's Steve Cooper, trying to run out of defence, just about 12 yards from their own line. Gives it to Farrer. Farrer's a very experienced forward near his own line, a useful man to give the ball to make ground in that vital position. And it comes to David Allred, who kicks way downfield, way into the Hornets half. But the ball just bouncing back a little bit awkward for the Hornets to pick up, but fullback George Clawton managed it okay. And Hornets again now, oops, and that's a knock-on by Andrew Barker. So it's another scrum down. Been quite a bit of movement so far in the game. Not any spectacular play, but a fair bit of movement to and fro. Sheffield have looked quite promising. Vince Farrer looks as though he's going to be the main man for Sheffield in this early stage of the game. Of course, Vince is a very experienced player. He's the man to follow around. But the game delayed for a moment or two while a Sheffield player, the Sheffield fullback Andrew Tyers, it looks to be, just off the camera, just leaving the field with an injury. Well,
Yes, he is. That's a hard look. And Mark Campbell. Number 4.
well, it's
That's a good thing.
the game is still delayed because, in fact, 2 Sheffield players are coming off the field. Mark Campbell, number 4, the centre, just limping off the field, and
Number 14, 52 goes on. Mark Campbell.
Mark Tyers, the full-back, has come off as well. So we've got now the substitute back, Mark Campbell, Mark 2, we might say, coming onto the field, and the game restarts with Sheffield putting the ball in, but referee Fred Lindop gives a penalty to Rochdale because the Sheffield scrum half Paul Welsh fed his own feet, put the ball in to his own team, giving the Hornets no chance of getting it, and that's something you're not allowed to do, of course. And the Hornets loose forward Billy Platt kicks the ball into touch again, so Sheffield once more been giving away 1 or 2 penalties of Sheffield at scrums, and something you can't afford to do because you're giving away a lot of ground if you do it. And Hornets are back on the Sheffield 25. They've got 6 tackles now to make progress in. It's the Hornets prop forward Jim Molyneux, another experienced prop forward who looks capable of testing the defence. David Chisnell again. It's amazing how in this game all the prop forwards are experienced players, but Hornets passing it out now on the right, just a slight switch of direction. It goes to the loose forward Billy Platt, who's tackled just 10 yards from the Sheffield line, so desperate defence for Sheffield now. And it's David Chisnell with the ball, who just gets it away to the Hornets scrum half Brian Hughes, and Hornets are coming out. This looks dangerous now. This is danger for the Sheffield Eagles. It's a try to the Rochdale Hornets. The first try here at Allerton Stadium, the first ever rugby league try. It's Steve Fenny. Steve Fenny gets a try just about 15 yards to the side of the post, and that's a good try by the Hornets. It's a well-worked try involving the Hornets forwards. And that's bad news for the Sheffield Eagles because the defence on the right-hand side just looked a little naive. Fenny stepped inside and encountered no opposition 10 yards from the line, and that's something that that's space that you can't afford to give him. And Billy Platt, the Hornets loose forward, kicks the goal, so that puts Hornets 6-0 into the lead, and that must give Sheffield food for thought. As Sheffield come back to the centre of the field, David Allred due to kick the ball again to the Hornets defence. Just a little bit of delay for the ball to come back onto the field. And it's David Allred lining up again. Approximately 13 minutes gone of this game. Allred going to kick it deep at the Hornets defence. It's going to be taken. Well, Hornets not doing too well at taking that, and but Hornets running it out at the defence. Mark Campbell, the substitute, taking the Hornets centre. As Hornets again, it's Rod Haslam running, trying to get out of his own 25. And Hornets passing it out onto the wing. They make it over the 25 this time. It's Chris Whitehead who's playing the ball. Ball comes now into the centre of the field. It's Billy Platt. He's been prominent so far for Hornets. Hornets forwards playing pretty well as a unit so far in the game, but of course there's a lot of time still to go. And Hornets kick it deep into the Sheffield half to the 25 line, and it's Ray Smith who's moved to the full-back position to take that position from the injured Andrew Tyers. And Smith 10 yards inside his own half, and it's Eagles now. What can they do? They've got to get back into the game, and it's Billy Harris who's lost the ball. The ball taken by the Hornets loose forward Billy Platt, and Hornets attacking again. Sheffield losing the ball too often, having the ball taken off them and giving away 1 or 2 penalties, and really they need to settle down and stop doing that. But at the moment it's an infringement. It looks to be an infringement by a Sheffield defensive player. I'm not quite sure who's responsible for giving away a penalty, but this is dangerous for Sheffield. They can't afford to do it. It's 35 yards from the post, a kickable position, and it's Billy Platt who's going to try and kick it. And if he succeeds, that puts Rochdale 8 points ahead, and Rochdale are just starting to draw ahead a little bit too much, I'd say, for Sheffield. Kicks, and that's a good kick by Platt. So the score now, Sheffield Eagles 0, Rochdale Hornets 8. Well, it's back to the centre of the field now for Sheffield, and again it's David Allred. Again, I guess he's probably going to kick the ball deep into the Rochdale defence, but Sheffield aren't putting Rochdale under any pressure. That's the problem for them. You see the Sheffield right winger, Phil Cartwright, taking the ball, but not under any pressure. Sheffield not really using those long kicks to good effect. Pinning Rochdale into their own 25, of course, but not for any sustained period of time. But now it's the Rochdale scrum half, Brian Hughes, tackled by the Sheffield substitute John Gregory. Hornets still in their own 25, and now this is a kick from the standoff half, Alan Fairhurst. A deep kick again. It's right into the Sheffield half, right over into the Sheffield defensive quarter, and it's Ray Smith picking the ball up, and Hornets have come up to put Smith under some pressure now, but Smith trying to get out of it, but that was good play by Rochdale Hornets. They gained a lot of ground there, and now it's Paul Welsh, gives it to Paul McDermott. Sheffield lose forward, but nobody supporting McDermott. McDermott gets over the halfway line. That's the second tackle. Now the ball comes out to Vince Farrer, supported by Steve Cooper. Well, Cooper tackled 10 yards inside the Hornets half. This is looking promising for Sheffield if they can mount a sustained attack. It's Billy Harris just making another 5 yards or so, but some flair needed from Sheffield now. And it's young Darryl Powell. This is his first professional game, taking the ball onto the 25. And it's Vince Farrer again, just looking a little bit indecisive, Vince, there. But we're on the last tackle. David Allred puts a high ball at the Hornets defence again. And this could pay dividends for Sheffield. It's a Sheffield substitute forward, John Gregory, who takes the ball, but that's a handover to Rochdale Hornets because the referee says that no Hornets player touched the ball, so that was the end of 6 tackles, and Hornets get the ball again. Hornets try to power drive their way out of defence once more. So that was disappointing for Sheffield. It looked promising, but nothing came of it, but that's the sort of attacking play they need to have, and of course nobody could be better suited to putting those high bombs up than David Allred, the former American football kicker from the Minnesota Vikings. Allred there making a tackle for the Eagles, so he's not just good at kicking, he can tackle as well. And this is Billy Platt showing he's not bad at kicking either. Hornets are really punishing the Sheffield defence, putting some long balls into the defence. They know that Sheffield have lost their full back and they're testing young Ray Smith, but he's running at the Hornets and plays the ball to himself. That's something that many people think is illegal, but of course it's perfectly legal as long as you push the ball forward with your foot. And now Eagles coming over the halfway line, and it's a substitute back, Mark Campbell, with the ball. He's about 10 yards into the Hornets half. It's Steve Cooper now, the club captain. Hornets defence are now lying off a little and giving Sheffield a chance to run. If Sheffield can take advantage of this just defensive looseness by Hornets, then they should be able to put some points on the board. It's Gary Hetherington, the club manager. A lot on Gary's mind, but been pretty involved in the game so far. And it's Paul Welch, gives it to David Allred for a drop kick at goal, and that looks as though it's missed, I'm afraid, again. So luck not on Sheffield's side. 2 drop kick failures so far from Steve Cooper and Dave Allred, and Dave Allred has missed a penalty kick. That's 4 points they might have got but haven't. And every point counts, of course. Anyway, it's a tap kick from the 25-yard line for the Hornets. Pretty basic football Hornets are playing, not too exciting, but Jim Molyneux, the prop forward, is prominent when Hornets are playing from defence. And Hornets now again moving to the left-hand side of the field. David Chisnell, the other prop forward, gives it to Ron Haslam. And Haslam just about 15 yards from the halfway line. The Hornets trying to play down the middle of the field again. It's the veteran Chisnell, David Chisnell, the ex-Warrington and St Helens player. Two veterans there together, Chisnell and Vince Farrer. And that's a long kick by Hornets. Again, they're finding touch. They're putting some very effective kicks into the Sheffield defence and gaining an awful lot of ground each time they do it. Perhaps the Sheffield players ought to hang back a little bit on the 5th and 6th tackle, because Hornets are taking advantage of the slight positional weaknesses over on the left-hand side in particular. Perhaps David Allred might have dropped back a little bit further in anticipation of that kick, but now Sheffield get the ball and give it to Ray Smith, who can't quite make much ground, but it's Billy Harris now taking on the defence. A couple of rugged tacklers, Ron Haslam tackling him, and the Hornets scrum half Brian Hughes, but that's a free kick to Sheffield because it seems that we're trying to rough Harris up a little bit in the tackle. It's David Allred, see how much ground he can gain. Good kick by Allred, puts it into the Hornets half, about 10 yards into the Hornets half, and now Sheffield have 6 tackles and they don't want to waste these tackles. Steve Robinson giving it to Ian Jowett, just making a little bit of ground. And it's Vince Farrer now. This looks like a Sheffield work move. It's club captain Steve Cooper just getting towards the 25, but unfortunately dropping the ball, just trying something a little bit too intricate at times. Sheffield just seem a little bit nervous, not settling down perhaps as they might have done. Not a promise there, but Hornets get the ball from the scrum, and this looks dangerous. It's the Hornets fullback George Clawton, nearly gets to the halfway line, but well, Jim Molyneux for Hornets didn't have any support that time, showing a little bit of displeasure, and Hornets drop the ball and Sheffield pick it up, and this is Paul Welsh just trying to weave through the defence, makes it to 10 yards inside the Hornets half, and Sheffield have another chance, 4 tackles remaining now. What can they do this time? They've got the ball, they've got to start putting the defence under pressure. It's Vince Farrer, that great old veteran. Vince loses the ball though, and Vince seemed to be tackled round his neck and lost the ball, just giving it away. Sheffield aren't holding the ball for 6 tackles, giving it away far too often, and Hornets now bashing away. It's the Hornets scrum half just not being tackled too effectively by Sheffield. There's a few Sheffield players hanging off, not looking too certain of who's going to tackle the Rochdale players, but Rochdale still down the middle stuff by Rochdale, but it's just proved a little bit more effective than Sheffield's play at the moment. Down the middle and then kicking on the 5th or 6th tackle. That's been Rochdale's tactics. And now that's a penalty to Rochdale because Paul Welsh, I think it was trying to take the ball from Ron Haslam after Haslam had been tackled. But Rochdale this time don't put the ball into touch. And it's young Steve Robinson, standoff half. Now it's Billy Harris. Billy Harris, just a one-man charge at the Hornets defence, just gets over the halfway line, and Sheffield now trying to put some play together. It's Mark Campbell playing the ball to Vince Farrer. Farrer just taking a couple of defenders on, just look as though they're having a conversation there. I wouldn't like to hear what they're saying. And now Hornets again. It's Mark Campbell, the substitute back, playing the ball. It's Paul Welsh now picking it up, running direct from acting half back. It's the supporting Paul McDermott, gives it to Paul Welsh again. This is better play by Sheffield now. It's Farrer. Farrer gives it to the right centre Darryl Powell. Powell trying to make ground, but no, he's got to hand the ball over. And now it's Hornets again battling to get out of their own 25. Approximately 25 minutes of the game gone. The score 8-0 to Rochdale Hornets. A try to their centre Steve Fenny and 2 goals to loose forward Billy Platt. I think the crowd are a little bit quiet at the moment, just a little apprehensive it seems to me. Sheffield haven't looked too effective in attack as yet. Of course, there's still a long time to go in this game. 55 minutes remaining, and the Hornets player there put the ball, kicked the ball straight into touch without bouncing, and that means that there's a scrum down at the point where the player kicked the ball from, and that's a Sheffield feed and a Sheffield loose head. Paul Welsh putting the ball in now, but it comes out on the Hornets side. That's disappointing for Sheffield. So that would have given them a good attacking position, and the ball is with George Clawton, the Hornets full back. And Hornets now again trying to drive out of defence. It's it's Jim Molyneux rather with the ball. Hornets giving it to Rod Haslam. This lad's been prominent for Hornets. A strong running second row forward. And Hornets attacking now. Hornets with the ball, and it's Chris Whitehead who gets tackled by Billy Harris and Mark Campbell. Ball comes out to well, that was David Chisnell, who just got a one-handed pass out, but didn't do his colleague an awful lot of good because he was tackled straight on the ball. But now it's Hornets trying to kick the ball through, and well, Steve Robinson let the ball bounce, and it came to the Hornets wingman Mark Massa, and it's because the Sheffield player touched the ball, it's back to 1 tackle, so Hornets have 5 more tackles now to make ground and try and get to the Sheffield line. And this is Andrew Barker, the Hornets centre, finding far too much room, gives it to the supporting winger Mark Massa. Good play by Hornets. Rochdale attacking Sheffield now, and it's the fullback George Clawton. Steve Robinson missed a tackle there, but Vince Farrer, the man to tackle the Hornets scrum half Brian Hughes. But Hornets still attacking, and it's the fullback, no, not the fullback, it's the second row forward Chris Whitehead who had the ball, and that's a penalty to Rochdale Hornets. A penalty to Rochdale Hornets, I think, for not allowing a player to get up when a tackle had been completed. So Sheffield giving another penalty away. Great danger that they could go 10 points down now. It's a kick directly in front of the post. Billy Platt to take it, heading for his hat-trick. And that's 2 points for Rochdale, makes it 10 points to 0. This lead looking a little bit too ominous for the Hornets. Hornets have been playing a pretty basic sort of football, but they've been playing it effectively. They've taken a good lead. It's just nearly half an hour gone of this game, and really Sheffield have a lot to think about. 2 players are off injured, 2 substitutes already been used, and it's David Allred to kick the ball again. Again, the same tactic, kicking deep into the Hornets defence, making a present of it to the Hornets winger Phil Cartwright. I'm not sure these are the right tactics for Sheffield, kicking deep, because they're not putting the Hornets under any real pressure with it, and pressure's what the game's all about. But Hornets with the ball again. They must have had it for 80% of the game so far. It's Jim Molyneux, the prop forward, coming over the 25, tackled there, and Hornets still attacking, still trying to make ground, but it's a scrum down. Hornets losing the ball, and the referee, Mr. Fred Lindop, a very famous international referee, gives a scrum down with Sheffield to put the ball in. And the whistle blows. Mr. Lindop was watching the touch judge there, who had his flag waving. He saw something that suggested that the ball hadn't come out of the scrum properly, as of course it hadn't. And Sheffield to put the ball in again. It's the young scrum half for Sheffield, Paul Welsh, putting the ball into the scrum, and well, not coming out properly again. So we're scrumming down for the 3rd time. The ball comes out this time. It's given to Ray Smith. Ray Smith trying to break through. Just tackled by Billy Platt, the Hornets loose hold. Good play by Smith though. Only 15 yards from the Hornets line, and Sheffield attacking. The crowd starting to get behind them. It's Steve Robinson playing the ball. Farah takes the ball, gives a long pass out to Steve Cooper. Paul McDermott. Cooper again, just looking for support. It's David Allred trying to get to the line. And it's a marvellous try by Paul McDermott. Good play by Sheffield. A lot of Sheffield forwards were prominent. The try started from a good long pass by Vince Farah to Steve Cooper. Cooper held up the defence long enough to get the ball out, and the ball went to David Allred. Allred tried to get to the line himself, couldn't quite make it. Was just tackled near to the line, but just managed to slip out the ball to Paul McDermott, the great try scorer. And Paul McDermott has the honour of being the first ever Sheffield Eagles player to score a try at Owlerton Stadium. Great play by Sheffield. That's more like it, Sheffield. Coming back into the game, 10 points to 4, and now David Allred is getting ready to try to kick the goal to make it 10 points to 6. Very difficult goal kick, this one. And now David Allred about to kick the ball. Kicks it now. It's not there, I'm afraid, so David having a poor day with kicking. But 10 points to 4, that should put Hart into Sheffield. Just over half an hour gone. Just less than 10 minutes to go before the half-time hooter. 40 minutes played each half, of course, in rugby league. 45 minutes in soccer, but 40 minutes in rugby league. And that's more like it, Sheffield. Well, they were saying before the game today that they want to get the nickname the Golden Eagles here at Sheffield, but of course to get a nickname like that it means you've got to start winning, and Sheffield are coming back into the game, 6 points behind. Another try before half-time would put them level, trying a goal. And Hornets have kicked off a far more effective kick than Sheffield have been kicking off. Billy Platt kicked the ball along the ground hard into the Sheffield half, and the ball bounced crazily, and the young man Ray Smith just touched it as it went over him, and of course that means that Sheffield have to drop out from under their own posts. So Hornets showing a bit more tactical awareness than Sheffield at this stage. But Hornets have the ball again. It's Rod Haslam playing the ball to his supporting players. It's Jim Molyneux, tackled by Paul Welsh and Mark Campbell. Molyneux getting up to play the ball now. That's 2 tackles. Spraying the ball into the centre of the field, and it's Chris Whitehead tackled again. Sheffield tackling reasonably at this stage. It's Ian Jowett tackling, and now Hornets bringing the ball out to the left-hand side of the field. Rod Haslam takes it, but runs into 2 Sheffield defenders. Darryl Powell and Paul Welsh, both prominent in defence there, bringing it out again onto the left, but not making much ground. Mark Campbell this time, and Paul Welsh tackling the Hornets hooker, Kevin Lowe. And Hornets moving it into the centre of the field, kicking again. Some astute kicking from Hornets, putting Ray Smith under intense pressure, and Smith took that ball brilliantly. He took it, it looked as though it was going to bounce out of his arms, but he caught it again, and he was under tremendous pressure from David Chisnell, who had kicked the ball. So well played, Smith, and the ball coming to Vince Farah, just being tackled by the opposing scrum half Brian Hughes. And Sheffield trying to come out of defence. It's the club captain Steve Cooper, just up to the 25 almost. And it's the Hornets tacklers in action, not letting Billy Harris get too far. And this looks like a kick from David Allred. So it's a better kick from Allred. Allred kicks it so that it bounces in front of the Hornets winger Phil Cartwright, and rugby balls being what they are, of course, they're always likely to bounce over somebody's head, and that's just what that ball did. Bounced over Phil Cartwright's head into touch, and that's a scrum down now on the Hornets 25, just inside the Hornets quarter. And it's the Hornets to put the ball in. Hornets scrum half Brian Hughes to put the ball into the scrum. Hornets have the head and ball, so they should, the side putting the ball in should always get it out, but that can't be guaranteed, of course. Difficult job for Gary Hetherington, the Eagles hooker, and Hornets do get the ball out. Give it to the fullback George Clawton. Doesn't make any ground. Tackled by Paul Welsh. But Hornets now have 5 more tackles in which to make progress with the ball. It's Billy Platt, tackled by Gary Hetherington. And, well, Hornets dropping the ball now, and it's Paul Welsh who picks it up. And this is 6 tackles now for Sheffield. Broken field play, but Vince Farrer gives it to Paul McDermott, gives it to Gary Hetherington. This is a real chance for Sheffield. Hetherington herring down the left, but just closed out by the Hornets defence. This is good play by Sheffield. It's the substitute forward John Gregory taking on the defence just 2 yards from the Hornets line. What can Sheffield do now? It's back to Hetherington. Hetherington, I think it's Billy Harris with the ball now. Harris has the ball, plays it. Sheffield a little slow, but it's Vince Farrer nearly breaking through. I thought Sheffield were delaying at that stage, but the ball came to Farrer, and it seemed to be the Hornets defence that was delaying, but Farrer nearly made it, just getting up to play the ball now. And Sheffield, Cooper has it, gives it to the supporting McDermott. And the ball's played again. That looked a strange play, the ball, but a short kick at the Hornets defence, and it's a free kick to the Hornets. Obstruction by a Sheffield player. Well, good attacking play by Sheffield. We're nearly over the Hornets line. It would have been useful to get over at this stage of the game. Just 2 or 3 minutes to go before the half-time quarter. But one of the Rochdale players, it's prop forward Jim Molly, who just seemed to take a bump on the head there, but he seems okay. And it's Billy Platt again kicking the ball into touch from that penalty, and he gets it to his own 25-yard line, and it's the Hornets with 6 tackles again to play the ball. Will they try and play this ball to half-time? Will they be content with a 6-point lead at half-time, or will they try and put more points on the board? It's Rod Haslam. He's been prominent, a good second row forward, running hard at the Sheffield defence, and it's Chisnell. Chisnell gives it to the supporting Kevin Lowe, the hooker. Low tackle just 15 yards inside his own half. It's Hornets still with the ball. Billy Platt, good tackle, good hard tackle by Billy Harris. And Billy Platt taking some time to get up and play the ball. I think he and Harris were tangled together, but it's played, and now it's Hornets throwing the ball out to the middle of the field. Chisnell gives it to Haslam, but Haslam tackled by John Gregory and Ian Jowett. And now this is a kick again by Hornets. It's the standoff Alan Fairhurst, a very promising player. It's Ray Smith with the ball. Ray Smith running at the defence, looks elusive, trying to make it to the halfway line. Good run by Smith, and the referee blows his whistle. I think he's warning a Hornets player for coming in with a fist in the tackle, and it's a penalty to Sheffield. David Allred to kick the ball as deeply as possible into the Hornets defence, I would guess, and he does that, gets to the 25, and well, this will probably be the last attacking chance in the first half for the Sheffield Eagles. What can they do? They'd love to go in level at half time. They need a try and a goal to do it. Paul Welsh taking a tap there and gives it to Ian Jowett, makes 10 more yards, so just 15 yards out from the Hornets line. It's Farrer. Farrer gives it to Billy Harris. Harris makes it to about just 10 yards out from the line. Good play by, and it's McDermott to Jowett, and Jowett can't quite get over the line. Just 2 or 3 yards out. Jowett playing the ball. Well, the Eagles still trying to get over the line, but just can't quite make it. Trying again, trying to get over from... Well, that's a try to the Eagles. Good try. Good try by Billy Harris, I think it is. Billy Harris is the man who's taking the congratulations. Good play by Harris, just burrowing over from near the line, taking advantage of a defensive weakness. A defensive weakness on the part of Rochdale Hornets. That must be a great source of comfort for Sheffield, because they were 10-0 down not so long ago, just 10 minutes ago. Now it's 10-8 and it could be 10-10 if David Allred can kick this goal. Forceful play near the line by Sheffield. It's doesn't matter how you score tries, if you can score them from burrowing in close, they're just as good as the more spectacular tries that start from the... And it's... David Allred can't... I think Dave Allred left his kicking boots behind him today. 10 points to 8 to Rochdale. As I was saying, all tries count equally, 4 points for a try. It doesn't matter where you score them from, whether you score them from burrowing in or whether you score them from running from inside your own half. Of course, I guess it's the fervent desire of the crowd to see Sheffield running in tries from their own half of the field, but at this stage, when they're trailing Rochdale, tries from anywhere will fit the bill. Sorry? And Rochdale kick the ball again deep into the Sheffield defence, and it's Steve Robinson with the ball, running out of defence well. The Rochdale players just held off a bit, and Robinson took advantage of that tendency, and it's a free kick to Sheffield with Jim Molyneux holding a player down in the tackle. Mr. Lindoff immediately well, I make that 40 minutes, and there the hooter goes. So after an interesting first half here at Owler Stadium, well, the game, of course, has to, I was just forgetting there, the game has to carry on after the hooter goes to the first completed tackle, and there it goes. So that's the end of the half, and the score at half-time is Sheffield Eagles 8 with 2 tries by Paul McDermott and Billy Harris, Rochdale Hornets 10 with 1 try from Steve Fenney and 3 goals from Billy Platt. 8 points to 10. Join us again for the second half, where we expect to see some exciting play from both teams. And it's Rochdale Hornets to kick off at the start of the second half. It's the standoff half for Hornets. Alan Fairhurst, who's going to kick the ball towards the scoreboard end for Hornets. The game starts now. Fairhurst comes up to kick, puts a long kick into the defence. It's taken by Sheffield wingman David Allred, who kicks the ball straight back at Hornets. And it's the Hornets fullback George Clawton who takes it on the halfway line. Again, Sheffield kicking and not putting the opposition under any real pressure. I couldn't really see the point in that kick by Allred. But anyway, it's Hornets with the ball. Platt gives it now to Fairhurst. Fairhurst. The ball comes out to Haslam, Rod Haslam. He's been prominent for Hornets and plays the ball and is obstructed, pulled back. In fact, it's not Haslam who's obstructed, it's Haslam who's doing the obstructing, because it was Mark Campbell who was marking him at the play of the ball, and Haslam pulled Campbell's shirt when Campbell was trying to go for the ball after it had been played, and it's a penalty to Sheffield. So Allred kicks the ball again, makes a lot of good ground this time. Just about 5 yards outside the Hornets quarter. And it's Sheffield in the form of Paul Welsh to take the place kick. They've got 6 tackles now to try and get to the Hornets line. It's Welsh, gives it to Ian Jowett, who runs through on the burst. Jowett makes makes ground, gets through Rod Haslam's tackle. Good play by Jowett. Forceful play by Sheffield. More of that's what's wanted, and it's now Steve Cooper. Steve Cooper gives it to Paul McDermott in support, and that's McDermott gets it out to Jowett, but Jowett just dropped it over the line. Is it Jowett? Yes, it was Jowett who just dropped it over the line. That was promising play by Sheffield, though, taking advantage of Paul McDermott's great support play. McDermott noted throughout rugby league for being a good supporting player, and now it's a penalty to Sheffield as well at the scrum down. It's Darryl Powell gives it out to Steve Robbins, and that's a try, and Sheffield go into the lead for the first time in this game. A good try, quick play by Sheffield. It was a scrum down and a penalty at the scrum awarded to Sheffield. Sheffield got the ball out quickly to the right hand side. The ball came to Darryl Powell, a promising young centre who was tackled but held up in the tackle and got the ball out to the unmarked winger Steve Robinson, who romped over for a try to make it 12 points to 10. Steve Robinson incidentally playing out of position because he started the game at standoff half and moved to the wing after fullback Andy Tyers was injured, and Ray Smith, the original winger, moved to fullback, and Robinson moved on to the wing, and that change about seems to have worked. It's now David Allred kicking for goal. Will this be his first conversion? No. Well, David Allred, a noted kicker, certainly must be one of the best kickers in the game, but I suppose he's kicking himself at the moment because he's missed missed 4 goal kicks now. But anyway, Sheffield are leading 12 points to 10. That's 3 tries to 1, and Sheffield are gaining confidence as Rochdale put the ball deep into the defence. It's taken by Ray Smith. Smith running out. Good play by Smith. He avoided Chris Whitehead's tackle. 2 Hornets players were needed to tackle him, and now it's Vince Farrer. Tough Vince Farrer, experienced player, takes on defence. He can do that all day, and it's Billy Harris, another tough customer. Not a man to run into, Billy. Gets up to play the ball now, just near the halfway line. It's Sheffield. Ian Jowett just dropped it then. That looked a promising movement, but now it's with Kevin Lowe, the Hornets hooker. This is an interesting game because Sheffield took a long time to settle down and drop behind, but have got back into the game and are leading now. Now it's Rochdale Hornets who have got to start doing the worrying because they're behind for the first time. They've not been behind before in the game, and it's going to be a real test of their nerve and test of skill and confidence for them to come back into it. But now it's Hornets with the ball. Kevin Lowe gives it to Billy Platt. Billy Platt to Dave Chisnell. Chisnell being tackled but slips the ball out to Jimmy Molyneux. A lot of experienced forwards in this Hornets pack, and Molyneux plays the ball to Chisnell again. It's again Platt. Hornets, a lot of midfield play by Hornets, and they're doing some good tactical kicking, but Hornets have not been too impressive when they've got near the Sheffield line. Not a side who look to have a lot of flair. But anyway, it's a scrum down now with Sheffield to put the ball in. The Hornets kicked it into touch and Sheffield put it in, but it comes out on the Hornets side, and it's the Hornets fullback George Clawton taking on the defence. Darryl Powell tackling him and John Gregory tackling him, but Hornets playing the ball now. It's now with Billy Platt. It's Billy Platt to the Hornets centre Steve Fenney, the Hornets' sole try scorer so far. And now it's the Hornets scrum half Hughes. Fairhurst, the standoff, picks up the ball, but Hornets losing ground. Good tackle by Vince Farrer. Hornets a little bit in disarray, but it's David Chisnell, that old campaigner for Hornets, getting to the 25-yard line. And Hornets retaining the ball. This is a promising move, but Rod Haslam dropped it, and it's Paul McDermott trying to break through. Gives it to Paul Welsh, to Ray Smith. Oh, and Smith loses it. And that's a knock-on. Sheffield are looking a more urgent side this half, I'd say. We've only been going for 6 minutes, but Sheffield already are looking a little bit more urgent. On drop balls, they're getting onto them more quickly. Well, that ball never seemed to go anywhere near the scrum to me, but Mr. Lindop waved it on. He knows best. I'll have to get my eyes tested, but Hornets with the ball again. It's Jim Molyneux holding it up in the tackle, but no support. Hornets play not looking anything like as assured and confident as it did, but they're still getting a lot of ball. And it's Rod Haslam now, and he's dropped it again. Hornets beginning to lose the ball as Sheffield were in the first half. Now it's club captain Steve Cooper, and Hornets are caught offside. And Cooper takes a quick kick into touch. Quick thinking by Sheffield. They look as though they're thinking a lot more quickly in this half. So Sheffield are looking promising now, and Sheffield in the form of Ian Jowett are taking on the defence again, 5 yards outside the Hornets 25, and losing the ball this time though, and Hornets have it again. It's Dave Chisnell to Rod Haslam. Haslam just getting through one or two tackles, and it's Brian Hughes, Hornets scrum half, spots a gap and goes through it. That's a scrum half, that's how to play the game, and Hornets looking a little more confident now, coming down onto the right hand side of the field, getting well into the Sheffield half, and it's the right centre Andy Barker plays the ball now. Hornets taking it out in the middle of the field again. It's Alan Fairhurst gives it to supporting Whitehead, but Sheffield get the ball. Both sides dropping it a lot. And Sheffield now, Steve Cooper trying to get through, and it's Paul McDermott in support. This is going to be a great try. This must be a try to Paul McDermott, his second try of the afternoon. Well, that's the way to do it. Paul McDermott, always the man in support. You're never far away from where the action is. And it was Steve Cooper who made a break. He just swept through a couple of tackles that looked to be going too high. You can't tackle people around the chest at this game anymore. Steve Cooper realised that, broke through and handed the ball on to Paul McDermott, who had just a couple of inches of a gap to get through. He did it, and that's really the way to do it, scoring the best try of the afternoon so far for Sheffield, and that makes it 16 points to 10. David Allred has missed again. Well, poor old David. I'm sure he's not doing it on purpose. That's the last thing he wants to do, but still the Sheffield are winning, and that's the thing that'll mainly concern them. It's Ray Smith now taking on the Hornets. This lad looks a real individual. Has a Rastafarian style haircut, but looks a pretty useful rugby league player as well. And that's a free kick to Sheffield. Sorry, a free kick to Rochdale Hornets. Within kicking distance, so it's Billy Platt. Billy Platt who's going to kick the ball from just outside the 25, about 20 yards to the right of the post. It's not an easy kick, but he's a left-footed kicker. This should be easier for a left-footed kicker. And Platt's coming up to kick now, and he's wide of the posts, and that falls to Darryl Powell, who runs out of defence, makes about 15 yards. Very promising young player, Powell. He was sought after by Hull Kingston Rovers, amongst other clubs, that chose to come to Sheffield. Shows great faith in the Sheffield club. This is Steve Cooper. Good work by Cooper to Paul Welsh, and it's McDermott again. Good support play by Sheffield. First of all, Paul Welsh supporting Steve Cooper, and then McDermott supporting Welsh. Sheffield growing in confidence. You can see it happening all the time. They know they can do it. They're throwing the ball around. 4 tries to 1 they've got now. Only leading by 6 points, but well, Sheffield perhaps could have fallen on that loose ball a little more quickly than they tried to. Rochdale picked it up when perhaps they shouldn't have done. It was a drop ball, but you've got to be quick in this game to drop on loose balls. And Rochdale did it. And Rochdale with the ball now. It's Chisnell. What can Rochdale do? They're 6 points behind. It must be a shock for them because they were 10 points in the lead. Have not been doing too well this last 20 minutes or so of the game. It's Alan Fairhurst trying to get through. Rod Haslam giving the ball out. It bounces and gets into the hands of poor Phil Cartwright, the Hornets right winger. Hornets looking a bit unsettled. They need to steady down a little. And this is Alan Fairhurst, who was tackled by Mark Campbell. Well, and Hornets kicked it to David Allred, who took the ball and did well not to get bundled into touch there, but it's Sheffield again. Steve Cooper, just perhaps he might have tried to offload that ball. He did try to offload it, but didn't feel confident enough that it would reach its destination. But Sheffield now with John Gregory with the ball, playing it just 10 yards outside the halfway line, just inside their own half, Sheffield. And that's dropped by Mark Campbell. Well, Sheffield have been handling better recently in the game, but Mark Campbell dropped it that time. Great shame, because it looked as though they might have been building up something, building up some movements. It's it's a Rochdale standoff half, Alan Fairhurst, who's been injured right now. It looks as though he's got a fairly bad knee injury. Fairhurst seemed to take a bang on the knee from Campbell, and the Hornets substitute back, Kevin Simpkin, is just running up and down the touchline, but Fairhurst is going to carry on. He's okay. He's been a linchpin for Hornets today. I don't think Hornets can afford to lose him, but Hornets get the ball from the scrum. And it's with Rod Haslam. Haslam trying to burst down the middle of the field, trying to get through Vince Farrer and Ian Jowett. Got through Vince, not very often that happens, but Jowett had him. And Hornets now giving the ball out to the left. Well, Sheffield look strangely vulnerable on the right-hand side. The right-hand side where they gave away the Hornets try earlier. And Hornets haven't tried to go down their left-hand side too often. But when they do, they seem to cause a bit of difficulty for Sheffield. But at the moment it's Jim Molyneux looking for support. Finally gets it from hooker Kevin Lowe. And Kevin Lowe goes down to a tackle just on the Sheffield 25. And now it's Brian Hughes, the scrum half for Hornets, putting a high ball, a high bomb at the Sheffield defence. But Sheffield managed to take it. A lot of hearts were fluttering, but it's Darryl Powell who gets it. Gets up to play the ball, gives it to Billy Harris, and Billy Harris wrestling now with Hornets tacklers. And is okay. And Sheffield still trying to break out of the 25. It's Paul McDermott who just drops the ball now. And a little bit of confusion, a little bit of a lackadaisical feeling about that there. A lot of drop balls, and it's making the game a little bit scrappy so far. There have been some good tries in it, but more consistency in handling would be useful on Sheffield's part. And in the meantime, Alan Fairhurst, the standoff half, is coming off the field to be replaced by Kevin Simpkin for Hornets. Probably about 15 minutes of the second half gone. And Hornets get the ball again. They've been getting it consistently from the scrums. And it's with Steve Fenny playing the ball now out to the left-hand side of the field, and it's Chris Whitehead with it at the moment. But he seemed to drop the ball to me. But play goes on, and it's with the right centre Steve Fenny, rather Andy Barker I should say. And Hornets looking dangerous, but there are a lot of men out there. There's a big overlap for Hornets, but Simpkin didn't really seem to see the players out there. But now it's Jim Molyneux coming back into the centre of the field, and Hornets with a little quicker passing would perhaps have got over. But now it's David Chisnell. And all the gaps seem to have closed now in the Sheffield defence. And it's back with Billy Platt, trying to make progress, but not really making any. Sheffield defence equal to the task. It's Vince Farrer again, and Chris Whitehead taking the ball, but Farrer and Paul Welsh prominent again in the tackle. And this time it's a bomb by Hornets, and it's gone backwards, but that's classified as a knock-on. Mr. Lindop gives the scrum down, and Hornets' play generally has been unimaginative. I think they should have been getting the ball out to the flanks a lot more than they've been doing. Sheffield have, where they have looked vulnerable, it's been down the touchline sides, but Hornets have not really tried to exploit that possible weakness, and now it's a penalty to Sheffield at the scrum, and David Allred about to put the ball into touch. Had a lot more success at putting the ball into touch than he's had with his goal kicks as David, but it's Sheffield taking the tap kick, just getting over the halfway line, and it's Billy Harris taking on the defence. Billy Harris striding at the defence, trying to wrestle his way through, gets 10 yards inside the Hornets half. Good play by Harris, really, playing well in this game, prominent in most aspects of the game. It's Vince Farrer giving a run round to Paul McDermott. McDermott just lost the ball there, uncharacteristically for him, and Hornets have it, and Paul McDermott makes amends for losing the ball by tackling the Hornets centre Andy Barker, but Hornets swing it now into the middle of the field. It's hooker Kevin Lowe, tackled by Vince Farrer once more. Farrer's so prominent in defence, but Farrer, not content to tackle the man, seemed to do something to him. I couldn't quite see what it was, and then spoke back to the referee and lost a further 10 yards, something you can't ever afford to do when you play rugby league. And now it's a place kick to Rochdale Hornets. Kevin Lowe, the hooker, gives it to Jim Molyneux, the prop forward. He's tackled by his opposite number, Vince Farrer and Billy Harris, both Sheffield prop forwards doing sterling work in defence there. And now Hornets back out into the centre. It's a worked move. It goes to Rod Haslam, and this time it's the second row forward, Steve Cooper, who completes the tackle. But Sheffield defence holding firm at the moment, and now it's Gary Hetherington doing his share of the tackling, and Hornets seem to lose the ball, just a knock on by the Hornets hooker Kevin Lowe, and it's a scrum down with Sheffield to put the ball in. Sheffield have head and ball, so Sheffield ought to get the ball from this scrum, and before the ball even gets anywhere near the scrum, before the ball even goes anywhere near the scrum, it's a penalty to Sheffield, and Jim Molyneux, the Hornets prop forward, was penalised there for incorrect packing. It's a good thing to see, because a lot of people criticise rugby league scrums for being an untidy mess, and it looks as though Mr. Lindop is going to have no untidiness. Let one or two scrums go earlier that I thought he might have pulled up, but on the whole he's refereed the scrums very well. And of course he is a very good referee anyway, as most of us know. But now it's Gary Hetherington, not only a player but a director of the Sheffield club, and ball coming out to Farrer, to the supporting McDermott as ever. McDermott, gives it to Welsh, but Paul Welsh couldn't quite hold it. What a shame for Sheffield, but McDermott gets up and goes and makes the tackle. Hornets are on the second tackle now, and one or two Sheffield players are beginning to look a little bit tired. It's just a little ominous. And it's a penalty to Hornets. Just getting into that bad habit of giving away one or two penalties that shouldn't be given away. And it's Hornets with the ball, just taking on the Sheffield defence. But now they're coming out to the right. Chisnell gives a pass, and it wasn't taken by Chris Whitehead for Hornets, and it goes into the welcome arms of Ian Jowett for Sheffield. And now it's John Gregory. John Gregory playing the ball incorrectly. And Sheffield weren't giving away so many penalties for, well, fairly trivial things. They'd be a lot more secure in this game. They've now got 6 more tackles. They've got 6 more tackles to cope with now from Hornets. And it's Jim Molyneux trying to burst through the defence, and he's taken by Mark Campbell and Steve Cooper. Goes out left to, well, Andy Barker was the Hornets man who gave it to Steve Fenney, who was tackled, and Hornets looking dangerous, but a knock on again by Rod Haslam. Well, a little bit of scrappiness in the game that's disappointing for the spectators, I think, but a lot of promise being shown by Sheffield, and I think when they get a greater team understanding, I think we'll see some good things from Sheffield. But at the moment, they're leading by 16 points to 10. That's as good a score as they would have wished for at this stage of the game. With about 17 minutes left, it's Ray Smith from fullback. He's looked a potentially exciting player to me. Not had the ball an awful lot, but shows a willingness to run at the defence and a willingness to sidestep, which is refreshing and always good to see. But now it's Billy Harris. Billy's not much of a sidestepper himself, more a man who runs at the defence and tries to take a defence on, holds up in the tackle to try and get a ball away. Vince Farah does that now and gets it away to Mark Campbell. Campbell doesn't do it too successfully though. It's one of the understated arts of rugby league, getting a ball away when you're standing with men on top of you. And it's a penalty to Rochdale, taken quickly. It's the left wing for Rochdale. Mark Massa nearly gets over, just tackled into touch by the Sheffield defence. Ray Smith was there again. Good defensive work by Sheffield, because they took that ball fairly quickly. They took the penalty fairly quickly and nearly scored a try from it, but now Sheffield have the chance to put the ball in and hopefully to get the ball out, which they don't do. It's a Hornets ball again. Gary Hetherington must be disappointed with the scrummage work today, but Hornets have lost it again. A little bit more scrappiness by Hornets. They lost the ball again, and now it's a Sheffield put in once more. Can they do better? Can they get the ball from the scrum? That's what they want, especially when they're only 10 yards from their own line, and that's what they've not got again. Well, and Hornets lose the ball again, and it's Ray Smith picking the ball up, and Hornets are not really making good use of the possession they're getting. They've had tremendous possession, but have lost it a tremendous number of times. And at the moment it's Billy Harris. The other prop forward, Vince Farah. Very famous player in rugby league circles is Vince Farah. Been around an awful long time. One of a great player with Featherstone Rovers. And that looks like an injury to Steve Cooper. It is an injury to Steve. He's not getting up from it at all. So
Captain Steve Cooper. Thank you.
Well, I guess about 15 minutes to go of the first ever game of rugby league here at Arlington Stadium in Sheffield. Slightly disappointing size of the crowd, I guess, but those who have come have seen a game that's not been a great game, but they've seen 5 tries so far, 4 of them from Sheffield, of course, which will please the spectators, I think. And it's Sheffield with the ball at the moment. Dave Allred, a kick from David Allred, goes down deep into the Hornets half, and some of the Sheffield players are running up to try and put Hornets under pressure, but they do get they did get that Hornet down just before the 25-yard line, but now Hornets with the ball again, getting over the 25. It's Steve Fenny plays the ball, and it looks like Chris Whitehead with the ball now for Rochdale Hornets, and it's Rochdale putting the ball out. David Chisnell, and it's Billy Platt now. Billy Platt tried to give it to the supporting Jim Molyneux, but was hampered when trying to do so, but Hornets still have the ball, and it's Chisnell now. It's Chisnell to Steve Fenny. Steve Fenny, the centre who scored Rochdale's only try today. And now it's Chisnell again. Chisnell to Haslam. Haslam's been losing the ball a lot for Rochdale. Started off playing well, but has lost the ball far too much recently, and now it's Sheffield with the ball. Ian Jowett near the Hornets 25, not going to touch, and Sheffield getting the ball back out into the centre of the field, and now it's Mark Campbell with it. Campbell trying to make ground, and Sheffield in a good attacking position now. It's Vince Farrer just trying to burst through. Paul McDermott was in support, waiting for a pass that didn't come. A Rochdale man was in the way of it. And now it's Billy Harris. Again, it's McDermott supporting valiantly. And in fact, the ball does come out to Paul Welsh, the scrum half. Welsh still going strong. Good play by him. Both Paul Welsh and Paul McDermott have been supporting well for Sheffield this afternoon. So always supporting the man in the ball. That's what a scrum half's supposed to do, and that's what a loose forward does. Certainly if you're Paul McDermott, that's what you do. And that's a drop goal by Gary Hetherington after nearly 30 minutes of the second half. That puts Sheffield 17 points to 10 in the lead. Good play by Gary Hetherington, because although you only get 1 point for a drop goal, the crucial thing about that one is that, as Gary Hetherington knew, it puts Sheffield 7 points ahead, 17 points to 10, and it's so vital because it now means Hornets have to score twice to draw level. Trying a goal won't be good enough for them. They've got to try and get something else besides that, and so Sheffield are that little bit safer, and it's so important to win the first game. But now it's Ray Smith. Hornets kick the ball deep again. Ray Smith took it and brought it out of defence near to the 25-yard line. It's Ian Jowett.
17 points for Sheffield. 10-4.
Well, Paul Welsh doing well. I think he's had a reasonably good game for Sheffield, although perhaps I suppose there could be a little bit more understanding between Paul and the front row of the pack at the scrums. Sheffield haven't been getting very much ball, even on their put in. But a deep kick into the Hornets half gives the ball to George Claughton, the Hornets full back, who is tackled and has suffered a slight injury there, it seems, but play continues. And it's Steve Fenny with it now. Steve Fenny tackled. And Chris Whitehead. Good tackle there by Gary Hetherington. Hornets still with the ball. Rod Haslam with it. No, not Rod Haslam. Terry Langan, the substitute. Substituted for Rod Haslam. And now Hornets are with the ball again, and David Chisnell trying a exploratory kick into the Sheffield half. It beats Ray Smith. He has to go back to pick it up. And now Smith trying to come out from defence. He looks a very small fullback, as Ray Smith. Of course, that's not the position that he started out in. Andy Tyers started out at fullback, but soon got injured, and Ray Smith has done a pretty reasonable job there since taking over after about 5 minutes. of the first half. But now it's a free kick to Sheffield. And it's David Allred to kick. And that goes right onto the Hornets' 25-yard line. He's kicked well into touch all afternoon as David Allred, but he just seems to have put the wrong boots on when it comes to kicking goals. But he is a good kicker, make no mistake about that. And it's John Gregory, the substitute forward, charging up the Hornets' defence, and the Hornets all afternoon have laid back in defence and given Sheffield room to manoeuvre. And that's Paul Welsh manoeuvring. He's playing the ball to McDermott. McDermott trying to take people on. No support for McDermott there though, which is something that Sheffield will be looking at. And that's a try! Well, a try to Billy Harris. A try to Billy Harris, his second try of the afternoon. Getting over from 10 yards out. He took on the defence, men trying to tackle him but didn't do it effectively. And Billy Harris, well, he's the sort of fellow who obviously you've got to tackle him when he's near the line or you've had it. Rochdale have had it, or did have it in that situation. Of course, they've not yet had it. There's still 10 minutes to go or so, but that's a good try to Harris, and Allred to kick the goal from in front of the posts, and he does it. Congratulations, David Allred. The crowd give him a big round of applause. The players all look very relieved. The score is 23 points to 10, and that's what they want here in Sheffield. And it certainly looks as though Sheffield now are going to get off to a winning start. Just about 7 minutes of normal time to go. Sheffield winning by 13 points, so Hornets have a lot of work to do if they're going to get back into the game. Alan Rhodes, the Sheffield coach, looks a lot more cheerful now than he did earlier. I think he might even be smiling. And Sheffield with the ball now, and this is young Darryl Powell. Well, just 6 or 7 minutes to go, and this is a free kick to Sheffield. Perhaps in the last 6 minutes or so there's a chance for Sheffield to throw the ball out and see what the backs can do. I'm sure that the backs they've got are capable of running 1 or 2 tries in from long distance. It'd be nice to give 1 or 2 long distance tries to the crowd to send them home feeling happy. Of course, they've got a win under their belts now, and this is Mark Campbell on the 25. Played well since he's come on as a substitute, and it's Vince Farrer. Oh dear. Vince Farrer and Ian Jowett didn't quite have the understanding that perhaps a few more games together will give them. Just dropped the ball, Ian Jowett, as he ran through, and it's a scrum down on the Hornets 25 with Hornets to put the ball in. The Hornets scrum half, Brian Hughes, going to put the ball in this scrum. They get it out like clockwork, and the ball comes out. It's George Clawton there. Sorry, Kevin Simpkin, the fullback, with the ball. It now comes to Billy Platt. And I'm wrong again. It's Jim Molyneux with the ball. And Paul McDermott took it off him, but was penalised. I assume that the referee must have called held before McDermott took the ball. And the Hornets put the ball into touch, and it's now a place kick from 10 yards inside their own half. Now they've got a lot to do, of Hornets, if they're going to get back into this game. Don't think they'll be able to do it at this stage, but they've got to keep on trying. They've got to do something a bit more adventurous than they've been doing so far. Good play by the Sheffield defence after some early worries. They've not given anything away after Steve Fenney's early try for Hornets, but Hornets still with the ball. They've had most of the ball so far. Well, that looked a dangerous tackle from manager Gary Hetherington. certainly looked a dangerous tackle. I think it looked as though he tried to trip the Hornets player up, but no doubt Gary would deny that. I dare say that Gary doesn't do things like that really. And now Hornets have put the ball into touch, but a Sheffield man touched it, and Hornets will get the put in. The ball touched a Sheffield man as it went on its way to touch, and that means that it's a scrum rather than a place kick, and Hornets have the ball. It's George Clawton, their full back. Tackled by Powell and Hetherington, and this is Brian Hughes. Hughes gives it to the Hornets substitute Kevin Simpkin, and Hornets now desperate attacking, but David Chisnell, the old campaigner, just loses the ball. They can't afford to do it. Gary Hetherington snapped it up and no doubt thanked Mr. Chisnell, and Sheffield have the ball again. And now it's Steve Cooper. Steve Cooper's made some good breaks. It's Darryl Powell. Powell gives it to McDermott. McDermott going for a hat-trick. Brilliant play. Brilliant play. Brilliant score. What a score. What a score. Sheffield Eagles. The Golden Eagles, that's what they'll be calling themselves. I said earlier that that's the nickname they're looking for, and that's the name they'll have tonight, because that's Paul McDermott scoring his 3rd try and Sheffield's 6th try. Brilliant play. It all came from an original break by Steve Cooper, handed on to Darryl Powell. McDermott ended up with the ball, ran through, he had the legs on the Hornets defence, and really that's a try that comes from inside their own half. That's what the fans want, and that's what Sheffield have given them today. And there's Alan Rhodes turning around, just looking up here, and that's a kick by David Allred again. He's found his kicking boots for the last 2 kicks, and that makes it 29 points to 10. And the Sheffield coaching staff, well, they've got broad smiles all over their faces now, not just smiles, but big grins. Alan Rhodes looks absolutely delighted. Stan Timmins looks exactly the same way, and there are just a few minutes left, and Sheffield are going to try and run it through again. It's Ray Smith this time having a run. Well, Sheffield can't have too many complaints about the way most of the players have played. I think a bit of inexperience from some of them, and no doubt as they play each week they'll be putting that to right, but certainly it's not been a bad start for them. Chris Whitehead for Rochdale now trying to get into the Sheffield quarter, but Rochdale can't possibly win the game now at this stage. Just a minute or 2 left of the game, and that's Steve Fenny, the Rochdale try scorer, having words with Vince Farrer, but Rochdale again trying to run the ball, run it through, but crossfield running really from the substitute Kevin Simpkin. And it's now with Brian Hughes. Hughes gives it to the substitute back, Terry Langan. Langan can't breach the Sheffield defence. The Sheffield defence has grown in confidence during the game. And it's Dave Chisnell gives it out to Chris Whitehead. And Hornets are beginning to look threatening near the Sheffield line. I think Sheffield would dearly like to keep them out, though. It would be a great thing if they could keep them out, but that's a high kick by Kevin Lowe, the hooker, and who's got the ball? It's difficult to tell from here. It's a Sheffield player with it. It's Ian Jowett. Well played, Jowett, and well played, Sheffield. They're bringing the ball out now from defence. It looks like Billy Harris again. Useful man in a defensive situation is Billy, as is Vince Farrer with the ball now. He plays it to Paul Welsh. Paul Welsh gives it back to Billy Harris. Billy Harris knocks 2 men off until he's finally tackled by the Rochdale hooker Kevin Lowe. Billy Harris has earned his pay today, and here's a man who's earned his pay with some good kicks. David Allred runs up quickly, but Phil Cartwright, the Sheffield winger, the Hornets winger rather, runs back at the defence, and that is the end of the game. with the final score: Sheffield Eagles 29, Rochdale Hornets 10. And congratulations to the Sheffield Eagles. A winning start, a historic occasion, the first ever game of professional rugby league in Sheffield, and the final score: Sheffield Eagles 29, Rochdale Hornets 10. And the Sheffield try scorers: 3 tries to Paul McDermott, great game by Paul McDermott, 2 tries to Billy Harris, 1 try to Steve Robinson, and for Sheffield, 2 goals by David Allred, 1 drop goal by Gary Hetherington. For Rochdale Hornets, a try by Steve Fenney and 3 goals by Billy Platt. Now we're going to have the Sheffield coach Alan Rhodes just coming up for a very quick word in a couple of minutes' time. So if you just, I'll just say goodbye for the time being and be back in a couple of minutes with Alan Rhodes. Well, Alan Rhodes, the newly appointed coach of the Sheffield Eagles, congratulations on an opening victory, a historic day here at the Allerton Stadium, beautiful weather, marvellous game. You must feel absolutely delighted.
Yes, considering the problems we had in the first quarter of an hour, with 2 men injured in the first 5 minutes and going into a 10-point deficit, the lads, all credit to them, came back well.
You must have been tearing your hair out at that stage.
Well, it was so frustrating. Because as I say, you can't foresee injuries, and it happened at the very early point in the game, and it meant a complete reshuffle of us team and tactics.
When did you begin to feel happy about the course of the game? When did you really think you were going to win it?
Well, the longer the game went on, I knew it would take us time to settle initially because of the fact we're a new team. But with the changes we had to make so early in the game, that affected it as well. But the longer the game went on, I felt happy and happier with the way our game was progressing. Apart from one short spell in the second half when we seemed to lose momentum.
Of course, it's difficult to pick out individuals in a team game, but certainly we've got to look first, I suppose, at the try scorers, and Paul McDermott with 3. Well, what a great backer-up he is.
Well, there's no doubt about it. Paul McDermott at the job what he does well, which is that support work. He's one of the finest players in the rugby league. And that's what we've got. That's the job we've brought him to do.
So he's got to score 3 tries every game from now on, and you'll be happy.
Yes, I shan't get on his back too much.
Good. And Billy Harris, the veteran prop forward, got over for 2 tries from near the line on both occasions. Looks another useful acquisition, bags of experience.
Yes, well, I know Billy Harris. I know his pedigree. He's a close friend of mine from where we live. And as I say, I know the job what he can do once he's motivated to do it.
And young Steve Robinson moved out onto the wing when you had the injury upsets in the first half, and he got 1.
Yes.
What about that one? That was one of the better tries, I think.
Well, he picked the move looked like breaking down at one piece, and they finally got the ball wide out, and he took his chance well. It's all good experience for these young lads.
That's right, and of course, it must be a great experience for all of them to play with a man as experienced as Vince Farah. What do you think of his game today? Didn't score a try, but did a lot of work.
No, it's the effect Vince has on the other players around him. That's Vince's asset.
And on the opposition, of course.
And on the opposition, right. He commands respect as soon as he sets foot on the field.
That's right. And one of the players who got a lot of publicity when he signed for you was young Darryl Powell, who played at centre today. He looked pretty useful to me.
Darryl's a great prospect. I mean, it's a big adjustment for a lad to move straight into first-class rugby league. Make no mistake about it. But the lad's a great prospect. His defensive work's top class. As I say, once he gets into the swing of the pace of the game, you'll see some things from Darryl Powell.
I thought he held up well to give the final pass which led to Steve Robinson's try.
Yes, he's a lot stronger player than what he's a stronger player than what he appears actually.
Yeah, and you had those problems, of course, when your fullback Andy Tyers was injured very early on in the game, and the centre Mark Campbell. But I thought young Ray Smith moved back into the full-back position from the wing and didn't let you down too much.
No.
Took a few high balls.
He has had some experience at full-back, but the crowd seemed to take a great shine to him straight, because of his looks and because of his style of play. And I think Ray could go on to become a great favourite here.
Good. So how do you see the Sheffield Eagles progressing after today, Alan?
Well, the main problem is we're a very small squad at this moment in time. We've had a couple of injuries today. I don't know how serious they both are and what other knocks they've got. We are on the lookout for players, but what we need to do is attract the support from the Sheffield public, and then we can go out then and strengthen and pay money and give them, give Sheffield a real team to be proud of.
Good. Are you making any final predictions about where you'll end up in the league this year?
No, I'm not making any predictions, no. Not at this moment in time. As you say, we were 10-0 down after 10 minutes. If what predictions would have been made then?
Well, congratulations once again, Alan, and good luck for next week's home game against Fulham.
Thank you very much, Martin.
Okay.